Okay, so if you've been asked to help run off the discus event for one of our meets, you'll always get a clipboard like this with all the rules on the back. In junior high, the contestants use the same disc. I'm just using a 2.5 pound weight, but they'll have to use a 1 kilogram discus. So everybody will use the same thing, girls and boys. If you're the one running off the event with the clipboard, usually you'll have a list of names, and you'll read off the list of names in order before the competition starts. You can read over the rules on the back, and then after you do that, you'll say, okay, I'm going to call you off by Johnny is up to throw, Bill is on deck, and Marcus is in the hole. And that means if you're the last one, they say in the hole, you know that you're the third one. If they say on deck, you know there's somebody up before you, and then it's you. And if you say you're up, you're the one that's going at that time. So that'll be your job, is just to announce the athletes, make sure they're coming up in order, make sure it's the right person that's in the circle, and then to write down the distance of their throw. So I'm going to toss this to the side. Now, when you're in the shot put, it's a little different, or in the discus, it's a little different from the shot put because you have a cage. So you have to let the athletes enter from the front after the athlete before them has exited. Okay? They need to walk to the back of the ring, the back half, before they approach into the ring. So there's usually little markers or a little dot in the center. As long as they walk in that back half, they're fine. Now you'll have athletes use a couple different styles, like the shot. They might spin, or they might do a standstill or a half spin. So some of them might start here. They might spin all the way through and throw. Some athletes might just start here and throw. And some athletes just might stand here and release it. So any of those are all fine. You'll notice some of the kids, there's more action going on, and their feet swing outside the ring. Anything like that is okay. You can always go outside the ring as long as you do not touch outside the ring. You can run up against the bumper plate on the circle, that's fine. You just cannot touch down. So as the athlete enters in the back, they need to make sure they pause for a second, let you know they're ready. You should be behind the fence if you're marking, and any of the competitors, to keep everybody safe. There will be, at our competitions, there will be a 60-degree angle that comes off like this, and it gives the athletes a sector that they can throw the disc in. If they do not go within the sector, it is a scratch. So they have to make sure it's within the lines. So the athlete will come up, they'll do whatever their routine is, so they might spin or do a standstill, and then as they release it, it's supposed to come out the front of their hand. Some will come behind. In junior high, everything is fine. In high school, it's okay. But we are only looking for the distance. So you running the clipboard, you'll probably be checking their feet and everything at the same time. So as long as they throw it and it extends out and lands out there, okay, and it lands within the parameters, they're okay. Now, if they step over as they finish and land here, so their momentum might carry them over and they step out, you just say scratch, and that lets the people out there know they don't have to mark anything, and all you do is put a little X through their spot, and that means, or a slash, and that means, okay, they missed that attempt, it doesn't count as anything. Now I'm going to go retrieve that 2.5 pound weight. Now if you have the job of marking, you'll have a little stake like the one I'll show you out here in a second, and all you have to do is make sure that you don't get hit. So as the discus comes out of their hand and it lands, so as it lands, when that one landed, its initial landing landed way before the actual disc stopped. So if it lands here and bounces here, you are marking where it initially hit first. So what I'm going to do is I keep my eye on the spot. You should already have the stake in your hand, and on the stake, this should already be there. So for instance, let's say this bounced here, skipped here. Sometimes it'll leave a divot mark that you can see. What you do is you measure wherever the disc landed, and you'd want to measure from the back or the closest spot that it landed. So if it hit here and flipped up, that's where you'd measure from. If it was coming in a trajectory like this and hit there, you'd measure from the back, not from the front. So all you have to do is plug this in here. Whoever is marking this will run the tape back. You with the clipboard, if you have the clipboard, you'll probably come in, okay? And then they will take this and find the center of the ring. And this ring right here, I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to run it right through the center. And once it's there, whoever has the clipboard should be walking up, looking down and saying, okay, the distance there was 33 feet, 8 1/4 inch. Just mark to the 1/4 inch. We don't need to go down to the 1/8 of an inch unless it was a sectional or something. If there's a tie, you don't have to worry about that. You just turn it in and we will mark the places and get the measurements from there. So if you're running off this event, make sure that you're keeping everybody behind the cage or the wall or the net. Make sure they're entering and exiting from the back. Make sure that when they throw it, they're not stepping outside the parameters of the circle. Make sure you're marking out here, the closest place to the circle that it came from. Make sure you're running it through the center of the ring and that you just read it off for that person. When the person with the clipboard, when they write down that person's distance, if they're looking down at it, so if they would say 33 feet, 8 1/4 inch, they can say that as they write it down so the competitors know, and so that competitor actually knows what they threw. And those, as long as you cover those bases, you'll be fine running off the discus.